where guys said, you know, I can take this jig and, you know, hop it through the grass and get these huge explosions, and, you know, something different. And that's kind of where it started evolving. But the Alabama way to fish it, I call it the Alabama shake, is when you're throwing it over a grass bed, you're keeping your rod tip high, and you're basically just pumping it. You're just, you know, hopping that jig over the grass. That's where a lot of people, that's the most popular way to fish a swim jig, and probably one of the most effective, especially down south. When you got like the water willow, you know, your shoreline grass, your floating grass, doesn't matter if you're on like Ross Barnett, you know, lakes with a lot of shallow grass. I mean, that's where this bait's going to shine. But that's the most popular way to fish it. It's keeping your rod tip high. You're going to hop it, you know, basically just come through the grass, kind of pop it over it. So definitely the most popular way, and that's the way I like to fish it, 80% of the time. The other way to fish it, it's probably not as popular, that still a way to get, you know, some really big bites, is to fish it over the top of submerged grass. You know, like Lake Guntersville, where I grew up, you know, they see a lot of different baits. They're going to see a lot of chatterbaits. They're going to see a lot of baits with a lot of vibration. You're going to, you know, those fish get so pressured that a lot of times you have to give them something different. And there's really nothing better than a big swim jig, you know, a big bulky bait that doesn't really make a lot of noise. You know, it's not gonna make you know, a ton of vibration, but those fish can still feel that bait coming through the water. So definitely this is a good way to give the fish a different look, is fishing over top of submerged grass. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida, Alabama, anywhere where you got that hydrilla milfoil. And the best way to fish this bait over that type of cover is to keep your rod tip at about from 9 to 10 o'clock. And, you know, you don't want it all the way at the bottom, but you don't want it, you know, super high, because you want to be, you know, where you can set the hook quick. So 9 or 10 o'clock, I keep a constant reel, and, you know, I want that jig always to be, you know, kind of ticking the top of that grass, just like you hear, you know, like rattle bait fishing, like you're throwing a rattle trap in grass. You know how you want to come through that grass and, you know, kind of tick the top. You don't want it to get buried. You don't want it to be up real high. You want it to just kind of tick. And that's what I'm doing with the swim jig. A spinnerbait definitely, you know, has its time and place, but a bladed jig or a chatterbait, I feel like just the way you can work the bait, and when you're in or around that submerged grass, you know, you just get those reaction strikes that you can't really get with any other bait. You know, that blade's going, you know, it's shimmying back and forth, and it hangs up in that grass. And when you pop that free, I mean, last week, I mean, I would be reeling along, and I mean, I would purposely get that bait, you know, buried up. I mean, I would want to get it down in that grass. Sometimes I'd let it sink, but, you know, I'd get that bait down in the hydrilla, and, you know, when I was working it free, I mean, that's when you get your bite. So it wasn't like I was reeling this bait way above the grass. I was wanting to get it hung up in it. I was wanting to actually get hung up in the grass. So, you know, I kind of got off subject there just because I'm so jacked up on it still. But so, you know, the submerged grass, it will catch them. Dirty to seine water is typically better unless you're in Florida. Florida is a different animal. I know we're not anywhere close to Florida right now, but you know, last week I was looking for the clear water, because just Florida bass they just don't like. I know a lot of you probably don't go to Florida all the time, but they don't just love dirty water. Actually, they don't like it at all. So I'm not an expert in Florida by any means. I mean, I'm not here telling you that I am, but I've learned over time that when you have to get around a little bit cleaner water, you know, And typically when you do that, you're getting around the grass, you're getting around the hydrilla. But the dirty to stained water, I mean, overall, 90% of places we go, I want the water to have a little color in it when I'm throwing a chatterbait. I want it to, you know, when I say by a little color, I want, you know, when I can see my rod tip just a, you know, foot and a half down, that's probably perfect, you know, perfect watercolor for a chatterbait. Almost the same water you'd throw a spinnerbait in. You know, that's kind of what you're looking for. You don't really want it to be super clear. You know, I know it. Just speaking kind of off the cuff.
Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Subscribe today.